We have a question that came in from Jeff. It's kind of interesting related to that. He's wondering if any of you think that the interest in IT and IT security jobs is increasing due to some people trying to get into a job that can be done remotely rather than in person. So yeah, Jessica, I know you do a lot of hiring. Do you get the sense that that's a major driver?
I definitely, I have not seen a lull, let's put it that way. But also the growth in our business has also driven our seeking. So I'm looking for more people. So folks that are interested in IT and cyber roles, we do have several positions open. But I definitely have seen a very large uptick on the cyber side of things. And I think that COVID drove some of that. I think the state of our union, our government has also driven that, and the realization of what damaging things can be done with that little bit of information, and then how do folks get their hands on it, and how do I become a defender of that? So I've definitely seen an uptick. It's probably been more in the cyberspace, but I've also seen an additional interest in learning it in folks that weren't traditionally, that didn't traditionally go to school. They maybe went and got an MBA because they didn't know. And now suddenly have an interest in IT. So I think COVID maybe drove some of that, but I think it's also the nature of our world. I mean, we hold little computers in our hands that do everything from navigate me from A to B, to doing my banking, to taking phone calls even still, and then also being able to check emails from school on the road. So I mean, I think all of those things have really fed into an uptick, and there certainly hasn't been a lack of growth from the need side. So not only do we have supply, but we also have demand.
Yeah, and Katie, have you seen any change in terms of that supply and demand, due to the pandemic that's going on?
Yeah, I think definitely the organizations that we work with at KPMG, they're looking to respond to be able to accommodate their workforces, right, and the needs that they now have. So, people who were typically able to go into an office previously to work, now they're trying to figure out ways to do their job remotely. So we definitely see an increased demand in cyber professionals to help solve these problems in a secure manner. So the demand has definitely gone up from that perspective. I don't know that I've seen that demand in positions necessarily go up. I do think though that they're more important than ever, right? That we have the right skill sets to be able to, go out and deliver the work that we have. So it's made the learning and development and being able to be agile with our learning and development programs even more important, because we can't just say, oh, you know what, since we can't have that in-person training, we're just going to put that off until the end of COVID, right? Because we don't know when that is. So it's causing us to have to be agile in conjunction with our clients and make sure that we're able to have the skill sets to deliver the work that the demand is there for.
Yeah, that's interesting, Jason, what you said, because it seems like this pandemic could go on, into I know some companies have already announced like work at home, like throughout the coming year. So is that something that you're actively thinking about? If this continues to go on, how you're going to, I don't know, make any changes or do anything in response to it?
Yeah, so I will say I'm really happy that we actually our initial program was blended. It was a little bit of instructor led and then some virtual, and then we slowly realized that if we wanted to scale our program, and actually all of our training programs now, we had to convert them to virtual instructor led, and so we actually had that up and running before COVID came. And what we found is that there have been some improvements that we've made, but definitely just really continuing to evolve on even like little things like breakout rooms and just becoming more familiar with a lot of the technology that we're using. I think one of the challenging areas for us is when you start to actually use labs, because having the ability to look over the shoulder of an individual, and we are working with different vendors that offer labs that allow you to do that virtually. But it's just the little things that you don't really think about until you're put into that screen and you say, oh my God, how am I going to get this score? How am I going to provide this person with recommendations? And then there's other things that you have to consider too, like having a producer for your events, because it's unfair to have a facilitator doing everything, managing the chat. also teaching. So yeah, definitely, definitely we're continuing to make changes, but happy to say that we had that in place before all this hit us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Romy is someone who's managing a team of engineers. Is there anything that has really changed in the terms of the day-to-day job duties or training or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the three things we focused on, right, as we've made all the decisions since COVID started, have been our people first, and then our customers, and then third, making smart business decisions, right, to maintain, our trajectory as a business and to remain, in the fortunate position that we're in. When we think about, what's changed for sales engineering, it is some of the virtual piece. And, one of the things, here being Infosec or being with you, Infosec, the programming that you guys have available from a training perspective is something that our SEs really leaned in on. Right? We have places where people's commutes were 2.5, 3 hours a day to get to their jobs in California or even Houston. And people found the time, right, to be able to now take, training and to fulfill like some of that extra time. They weren't just watching Tiger King. I actually watched the uptick in Jessica's lap. But I loved watching, right, the engagement that our employees had in knowing where we're going as a company still, leaning into Infosec and security skills training and network training. But also, we also in our breakout session, I talked about LinkedIn learning, and not my leadership no longer lets me call it soft skills. They now call it essential skills, but it's learning how to communicate, learning how to present, and it's things that you can start to learn virtually. I'd love a time when I can visit markets again and really see people up in front of a room and presenting, live and in person versus over video camera, because you don't always get to see, some of the other things that are happening. But no, we really have leaned to how can we do things virtually. We're still looking at, what re-entry looks like into the marketplace at some point, especially with our folks being sales focused and customers, who actually want engagement from their vendors as well. So we're making those decisions, and we're not making them haphazardly by any means. And it's, if you focus on your people first, keeping them safe, and then your customers second, I don't think you can really go wrong.
New episodes of Cyberwork are available every Monday at 1 p.m. Central. And don't forget to claim your free month of Infosec skills. Sign up using the code CYBERWORK, and you'll get unlimited access to hundreds of courses, hands-on labs, certification practice exams, skills assessments, and more. Use code CYBERWORK for Infosec skills.